Hello there. I'm Dr. Pooja Sharma, and today we are going to talk a little bit about what clinical research is. So, it's going to be an overview of clinical research. Clinical research is activities done to know about human health. It includes understanding about diseases, finding ways to prevent the disease, and to treat the disease. Now, clinical research is an important way to improve care and treatment of people worldwide. Health research, medical research, clinical research are used interchangeably. Now, many of these clinical research are only done to understand the disease. Some of these are studies that are done to improve things. Some are to develop new treatments and new drugs, and those are called clinical trials. Now, for you and me, what is clinical research? Clinical research is projects which aim to find out about illness, disease condition, its treatment, therapy, or care by directly involving people. Now, there are several people who can participate in clinical research. Now, these people include you and me as patients. It also includes nurses, doctors as clinical research professionals. It also includes clinical research coordinators. It includes the pharmaceutical industry. It includes ethics committees. It includes several processes that are there to protect patients during clinical research. Now, human research, sometimes you may think clinical research is only uh, on on a human being. But actually, sometimes the research that is done on our samples, sometimes research that is done on our images that includes parameters such as our X-rays, our CT scans, our biopsies, those are also called clinical research. So anything that connects our biospecimens or our identity through any kind of an investigation is called clinical research or human research. Over time, clinical research or human research has changed and developed and improved. So the first real controlled clinical trial was done for scurvy by a British surgeon called James Lind. And over time, changes have happened, as you can see here. The more critical changes are the Declaration of Helsinki, which happened in 1964. The Declaration of Helsinki and the Nuremberg Code, these are the basics of whatever we see even today. These include informing patients about the trials, taking consent, and not doing anything that is not comfortable for the patient. Giving the patient priority in clinical research is what Declaration of Helsinki has given as a principle. Beyond that, the guidelines that are being used today are called the ICH GCP guideline. You will sometimes hear this being spoken by doctors, by researchers. GCP is called Good Clinical Practice Guidelines, and we will talk about this at a later presentation. There are also guidelines that are created by the Indian government. So there is the ICMR ethical guidelines and there is the Indian GCP in addition to the laws of the land which talk about the new drug and clinical trial rules. Now, clinical research can happen in modern medicine, but it can also happen in Ayurveda and traditional medicines. Now, over time, that has also changed. In the 1970s, formally, the institutions were created, which included the CCRIMH, which became finally the CCRAS, that is the Central Council for Research in Ayurvedic Studies. There is also now the Central Council for Research in Homeopathy, in Siddha, in all other alternative therapies. And over time, you can see that the changes have happened in response to what is happening in the environment. But the most rapid change has happened during the 2020s, in which the COVID caused a lot of clinical research stimulation in Ayurveda and traditional medicine. There were many multi-center clinical trials, and now the ICM, the Research Council or Ayush, has updated clinical evaluation guidelines or research guidelines that are available now on their website. There is also expansion of Ayurveda into investigator-initiated or academic clinical trials, and along with it, into integrative clinical trials. That means both modern medicine and Ayurvedic medicine are used together to actually treat the patient and try to provide him the most convenient way of handling his disease. The ICMR guideline for biomedical and health research involving human participants is a very important guideline for Indian clinical research. It says that all biomedical, social, behavioral research conducted in India involving human participants, their biological material and data should be following the ICMR guidelines. It is very important to note every word that they have said. Even if there is a social or behavioral science study, it requires a process that should have approval of the ICMR. We should have follow the ICMR ethical guidelines. If your data as a clinical data is being used, then also you have to follow. But in case your biological material or your images are being used, that means आपका biopsy sample है, कोई blood sample है, कोई tissue sample है, कोई image की report है, then also this needs to be followed. Now, just to understand overall, what is the types of clinical research? तो जब हम start करते हैं clinical research, that's called basic research, जो bench में या laboratory में की जाती है, in which it helps understand the disease and the cellular level. It understands the disease at the microbiological level and in the drugs, understanding the drugs, whether it is in animals or it is in a petri dish, or it is nowadays even drugs are being developed in the inside by computer algorithms. So this is called basic research. Without basic research, no real drugs come out in the market. But as patients, we are not really participating in this basic research. We start our participation in the clinical research component, which is like the epidemiological studies. So epidemiological studies are first try to understand the disease, its prevalence, natural history, progression, how is it caused. So for example, let me give you an example of COVID. In COVID, how did we come to know it was being caused by a virus? How does the, whether you can't smell in when you have an infection of COVID, you will have a cough and cold. It will become better on the seventh day. It can suddenly deteriorate. There may be changes in the lungs. Then that you need to get hospitalized. All those things are natural history studies. So you just see what is happening to everybody and document that. It defines risk factors. So we came to know that people, who are having sudden immune response might actually not do so well, and they may deteriorate suddenly. There may be elderly who will, not be able to survive COVID. And then we also came to know that in a longer term, COVID can stay. So COVID studies, though COVID has, technically it has been, it is no longer a pandemic, but the impact of COVID is still being studied. So these kind of studies are called epidemiological studies. Sometimes they are done in hospitals. Sometimes they are done in clinics. Sometimes they are done in field-based situations, in public health programs. For example, for many of us who are, patients of cancer, who understand cancer, though there is something called the cancer registry. The cancer registry of India actually studies something like this. Then there's the socio-behavioral studies. Socio-behavioral studies explores how and why people behave the way they do. Now, these could include knowledge, attitude, practice, or KAP studies, or qualitative studies, or cost effectiveness studies. So you can see, for example, is there a gender bias in access to care? Is it that boys get easier care if they have cancer, and the girl might be delayed care? Is it that there is a cost that can affect this? So these socio-behavioral changes are also one kind of clinical research, and they play a very important part in improving health and understanding health and creating advocacy for health. Right? Then there is the clinical trials. The clinical trials will bring newer drugs, devices, and technology to the market. Now, this is very important for all of us. Whether we suffer from a disease or we do not suffer from a disease, we can suffer from a disease at any point in time. Even today, if I have a small headache, I will need a medicine. Unless and until that medicine is conducted, a clinical trial is conducted, there will be no medicine available. Excuse me. So these clinical trials are conducted in hospitals or they can be conducted in field sites depending upon what is the requirement for that. We will study this in a later slide deck. Now, suppose you want to find a clinical trial for yourself and you want to see if there is a treatment available to my disease in India. How can I find it? So many patients used to come to me or used to even make phone calls saying that our patient had injury on the road. There's a spinal cord injury, there's a brain autism, there's some kind of a defect, and doctors are saying there is research being done in stem cells. How can I find that research being done in stem cells? There is some hospital, small hospital somewhere saying that they will give me the stem cells. Shall I go there? They are charging 30 lakh rupees. First important thing to remember is that if any way that clinical research is being done in India, it is mandatory, it is important. You cannot do clinical research in India without registering it on this website called the Clinical Trial Registry of India. So this is the only authentic tool to actually find out where, if real authentic clinical research is being done in your disease. Second, that if there is a participation in a clinical trial, you must clearly understand what is the cost that you are being asked, what is the cost being asked for. The new research treatment cannot be costed to you. So these are two things I want you to remember while we do our introductory session. There are some very nice videos in our FAQ section, as well as there is a detailed video about clinical trial registry and how to navigate clinical trial registry in the FAQ section. I would like you to remember that रिसर्च में भागीदारी स्वस्थ भारत की जिम्मेदारी. अगर हम स्वस्थ होना चाहते हैं तो हमारे को रिसर्च में हिस्सा लेना चाहिए. Please contact us in case you have any questions. Here is our email. Thank you.